a prince must be reborn to become king. For all kings are born as princes, but not all princes become kings. A king is mother and father to those who are without mother and father. A king is a slave to everyone, even the slave in the kingdom. Just as much as our parents are slaves to us. You chain up a baboon, you give it salt, and then you let it go. It's going to run to the closest spring of water. Not the river. Umthombo. Uyena inkosi kuphela ekhona la namhlanje. Right? Me personally, he is my epitome of the highest ideal of what I must become, as much as ubabe ekhaya. Right? Lobu khosi lobu, like I was explaining, when, and yes, we can only use what you know as example and as a teaching, right? And I would think Uhabu will probably also use the same thing. When my people came into the region which they came into, besides for the wars which we had at Mapungubwe, we were the last people to occupy Mapungubwe. We overthrew the Mutapa Empire at Great Zimbabwe, and then we moved on to Mapungubwe. In the late 1100s, starting of the 1200s. In the late 1200s, that is when we left because of the great drought, and then we moved into Mozambique and Swaziland, where Tembe first became a king in Swaziland and then moved to Mozambique. So when we got to the place where we were, there were rituals which we had to perform. The first ritual which we had to perform was to take, and like I said, I had war with a lot of people. We had to take the sacred symbols of your people so that we can be kings above you, because your people have symbols which put them as the highest ideal of perfection. They have the keys to the land. When we first got there, we found abantu bakangubane, amanqamla munwe banje abantu bakangubane bamhlabuya lengane leko manguzi leko baba bangwanase. We found them in the veld and they were hunting antelope, right? Babezinela inyamazane. And this antelope, they caught it, we found them, they were still skinning it with shells because we stayed next to the ocean. All the prawns come from my father's land. So, all the prawns come from my father's land in Dabizit. All the prawns. King prawn, queen prawn, prince prawn. How? Ganjani bawathola abhukuda. Bawathola abhukuda phakathi kwesanti. And when we found them trying to skin this antelope, masibathola bazama ukuhlahlela lenyamazane with the shell of an oyster. We came with what? Metal. Thina sasebenza insimbi. We came with the first spears in the area, right? This metal, we helped them to cut their meat faster. And then we only asked for one thing as payment. Ikhono la phambili la ku left. That's all we asked for. But then, in Amaputho, when the men they go out and hunt, there is certain meat which they bring back to their king, which is ukhono la phambili la ku left. That meat is for the king, and they gave it to us, and that is how we got their land. Right? But the story is we murdered the hell out of them. The true story. It started there, and then they came back to come get what is theirs. But we already ate the meat, and we already bent the bones. Right? We already told our ancestors by bending the bones that we have fulfilled our mission. We have found a new home, right? Coming from Mapungubwe. We only went to places where there was metal, because the Mapungube Empire, Bahasha, Barolongo, and all of those related to them worked with gold and platinum. That's why they are sitting in platinum deposits. That's why they are sitting in silver deposits. That's why here in this land here, where they were chased out of, is the gold deposits. Right? Yebo. Yebo.
I just had a vision. Moti Navapata Navarolongan.
Oh no, da.
The reason why Lamato decided to put their spears down was out of regret.
Yes.
These are the first, like we must acknowledge
The
that
first miners.
these are the first people who went underground to get anything from underground, and we must acknowledge them. This is why even in the gold rush, it was first Abatwana and Abisutu
who went underground.
Who went underground.
Yes.
Because they are the only ones who knew how to navigate underground.
Yes.
And when they realized ukuthi letsimbi yethu abantu sebayaganga ngayo bayabulalana, they put down their weapons and they became a peaceful nation. Some of them, like Ohabu, they vowed ukuthi will never work with metal again.
Yeah.
That's why I'm called.
And when we came, we had also the magic of metal, because all metals are magical tools. We have this thing of working our metal, putting it in your land, and then all of you fall asleep.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
And that is why when we went to take wives, we married our wives with hoes. You know what is a hoe? Ikuba. Lobokulima. Right? Kodwa besilobola hayi ngalento ebambayo, besilobola ngale yansimbi ephambili. Iphini nizosibonela ihlahla ziningi. Right? But then that also ensured that we share with you what is great to us. Right? So, this family, Katembe, now I'm talking about all our families, right? All the old families. Utembe ufika and set. And Utembe had sons. And his sons, 3 sons, right? And they were still in Mozambique at the time. He sent one son to the border of Zimbabwe. He sent one son to stay where he was by the ocean in Maputo, which was named after Ukhokho Mkhulu uMaputo Oqala. Right? Maputo is named after Ukhokho Mkhulu uMaputo Oqala. Ozala yazi siyabangisana habu naMandebele ukuthi uMaputo uzala umusi uzala umhlanga. Siyabangisana. It's a big war. But we'll get to that one. But that house also comes from the house of Maputo, the first Maputo, which they trace from, they are from Kahlanga, but Bati Amatopo. Nabo. Umusi kamhlanga, umusi uzala uMaputo Oqala. Njengoba uTembe, so uMaputo umusi uzala nomthonga. Umthonga uzala uTembe nokhokho womSwati. Uyayibona? So uTembe uyahlala lapha, uyena ubaba wala ekhaya ngithi, right? Nangu aba, for instance, right? Kehlala la ekhaya, inqobe wonke umuntu la kulelali, la shaya wonke umuntu, la thatha wonke umuntu la menza ini umuntu wakhe. Right? All the young men who become men under his name. Ikoma, ingoma, ukubuthwa, ukweluswa. All of those systems must tie to the king. Koma, asikoma outside of Moshate. Ukubuthwa angeke ubuthwe ngaphandle kwenkosi. ikumkani yakho ubani mangabe uzogibela intaba kabani lo uyigibele. So mabehla, they then entered into now the regiments of this new family to protect this new family. This new family then will also give out the daughters of the old families which they found here. So our daughters will marry the daughters of the old men which we found here. For instance, we only marry into certain families because all the other families. That is why for almost 50 years we entered into incest, because everyone else was below us. So Dembe married Dembe. But after that, Dembe married Kumalo, he married Nyawo, he married Ngome Zulu, he married Kumalo, he married Angizwa? He married Ukumalo.
Umbale number 1 no number 4.
Ukumedela lo ngifuna ukumbiza. Kusho ukuthi ngoba angithi uyazi ugumede no
bayayeza bo.
Isitoko sasekhaya. Kulakhanda ifactory yabo mama. So all these great families have families which they go fetch wives from, and these come from now these old alliances that we have when we first got here. So Uaba will give birth to Bubu and then will give birth to me. Bubu will go that way, I will go that way. Right? Inkosi Yamakosi is about Abba, the king of kings. We are his sons, we become kings where we are. Right? Me and Bubu have our own sons. Those sons, one of each of our sons is going to stay where we are. The rest of the sons must go out as well. And then that is how the nature of chiefdom now was started. That now the grandsons of the King of Kings must also have a dominion in which they have control over. Ukuthi lo mhlaba lo esiwuthathile sisafika awulahleki. We don't lose this land that our ancestors first came into. So we will put our brothers and our uncles and our grandfathers in all positions of power. Our uncles, bawumncane no bawumkhulu, bo Khosimnene, bo Papa Ntsongo, bo bambiza bani ngesixwana uRangwani, yabo uRangwani samthatha simthumela le ukuthi Rangwani ke wena uyinkosi yale, lo munye uRangwani inkosi yale, kodwa ubaba omkhulu yena inkosi. Yikho uze nohabu laba ku podcast abiza inkosi yenye indawo ngoba bomncane, kusho ukuthi umuzi wakubo mkhulu nakulo muzi loyo.
Ukuthi isikhukhu nobaba omncane.
Hayi bomncane phela. Nami umswati the dead, umakhosi eTibe. Ngimbiza ngoba bomncane. Umabhudu the dead ohlezi lapha oyinkosi ngaphansi kwaZulu, who was made one of the trustees of the Ngonyama Trust, ubaba omncane. Umhlanga le mashanganeni, umhlanga wale Bushbuckridge le mashanganeni nomhlanga wale Mandrebeleni oba omncane. Ngibahlonipha futhi ngoba ngithi baba, angithi hayi omncane sinyele ubaba, ngoba nalozala nobaba angeke ngibize ngobhuti, ngizothi baba. Yabo? Now this thing that we call royalty, what is it? It is a ubukhosi bilento ukuthi oqala oba nesibindi sokuthi yena ke loya. Because we all came here. The story is that when we came out of la sivele khona, thina sivele emhlangeni angazi ngani ukuthi nivelaphi. We come from the reeds, and when we first came out of the reeds, the first man who came out of the reeds is our oldest grandfather. Those who came afterwards are the younger families. Thina umkhulu wethu uMvenqami owavela kuqala emhlabeni. That is our oldest known ancestor. We as the royals. Uluwe is the one of the oldest known ancestors. Yikho abapedi bo bonke nabahatla bonke nabesuthu bonke uluwe. They came out of the home uluwe wabeka inyawo lakhe kuqala wathi namhlanje lelo nyawo lisasekhona phakathi kwetshe, because they say he came out when the rocks were still soft.
Yeah, ningayolibone elihuru lapho elihuru inyawo likaluwe lapho lisasekhona namanje bangayolibona. Luhutse lela nyawo iluhutse lihurutse yeah lela nyawo lingaka lela nyawo. Yeah, it's probably even 3 meters maybe, and it is a rock that was lifted, but that rock was flat and it was inside a cave. It is the entrance of a cave now, right? Tina ke sithi sibuya kuNkulunkulu basically thina abakudala. We the royals come from God's balls itself. Yeah.
Abenge sinto asizwami.
Thina siphuma sendele kaNkulunkulu. And I put it as it is because the royals have now the symbols of the cosmos in their family lineage. Everything that was promised by the Almighty to man is ithakazelo kithi. Yonke noma ungavula iBhayibheli khona uJesu bathi Jesu Nkosi yokulunga akusubhele lo ulanga lokulunga ingwenyama, King, the Lion of Judah. And I will get now to these totems to show you that we come from the balls of God, we the royals. That all the great animals are our totems. There is, and can I tell you, the highest of all these animals is a leopard. First, ingwe, ibhubesi, a lion, ihlosi ingaphansi kwengwe, yeah, imizi emncane le, the cheetah, ihlosi. No. The families which wear the cheetah are the cadet houses.
They are not kings.
Do you understand? Siaparangwe ki khosi. His cousin will wear cheetahs. Right? So we said a leopard, ingwe, ibhubesi ngonyama, ungolanyama, ubaba ohlezi lapha eAlbertine. Bese khona inare, the black bull, the buffalo. Bese kukhona lesine. Yebo. Number 3 is inare. Nare. Laba imizi ekanare, imizi kaThulare. The great houses of the baby. Babilanare. There is the house of Thulare. There is the house of Thulare is the house of Skukune, no Mampur, Nabobok. Kodwa yonke inkosi isaparangwe.
To make it simple, look at the currency of South Africa.
The big 5.
You see Malaysia, South Africa. The highest currency 200 is the leopard. Yeah. After the leopard, by confusing the bafaka inari, buffalo 100 rand. And then kulandela
ibhubesi. Kumele uqale ibhubesi.
Before buffalo bekumele kuzi lion and then
bese ke kukhona ojambase inkosi ehlathi omunye umuzi ke ujambase impene omfene umthweni lithweni bogiba bazalana ke noGabu.
noGabu is one house.
Mangabe nihamba intaba njengathi Abantu abaniphethe, all the eyes and the hands which are protecting you are the hands of the monkeys and the baboons. The first message you hear about the existence of the sun, you hear it from the baboons.
And then danger you hear.
The danger you hear from the khabu. If there is food in the wild, you look for the remains, the fecal remains of the khabu and the jambas. Uzobona ukuthi lezi ihlahla lezi zinokudla lezi.
Jambas shows you clean water.
Exactly.
Khabu shows you food.
The baboon shows you clean water. You give a baboon salt. Yeah, we're actually talking about this. You chain up a baboon, you give it salt, and then you let it go. It's going to run to the closest spring water. Not the river. Umthombo. Guess we to now these symbols of royalty, right? Hey. What just passed in the northern hemisphere is Des Murdos. Des Murdos Nayas. The Halloween. The Day of the Dead. Right? It Des Murdos. Gula babiza amadlozi wabo bonke ukuthi bazohlala nabo njengathi nathi sihlezi kanje bazodla nabo. That's it. Every October 31st up until the 4th of November. Namhlanje. Kodwa kwenzakala something mysterious around that time. There's something called the monarch butterfly. Do you know what the word monarch means? Niyaz? Asizwe mkubu.
Uzofika.
Yes, azamkhulu. Okay. The monarch, inkosi, the monarch. And this monarch is the highest arc that
One
arc that the arc is lentole.
Naila attending.
Yayibona? Naila. It covers all of us.
Imise.
Imise. Kodwa angithi khona insika la.
Insika.
Angithi. Insika ikhanda lento esibiza ngearchy ke ngesingisi.
Nesintu ngesikhosa sithi uphahla.
Uphahla. Hayi uphahla lolu.
Uphahla.
Uphahla lolu. Lolu phahla lolu lusembethe sonke. It is incubating all of us. It is like a womb. This phahla, this ark is a representation of the womb, as much as the monarch, the one ark that encompasses us all, is like mother and father to all of us. A king is mother and father to those who are without mother and father. A king is a slave to everyone, even the slave in the kingdom. Just as much as our parents are slaves to us. A king is the lowly of the whole kingdom. Because Google la uzophatha khona kusukini kehenu akhe awukwazi ukuthi abantu bagijimele ungabagijimeli kini ngoba you know every single nook and cranny in which you can go into for the betterment of the people, right? Now also this monarch butterfly now goes through its mating migration. So around this time, as much as Nati, our ancestors, are with us in the northern hemisphere, it happens for us in March, April. La sesihlaba kokugcina. Right? This monarch butterfly takes to flight for mating. As much as Nati amakhosi esizala kuwo ahlezi Nati la. As much as we have our ancestors with us here, the monarchs, the kings are mating in the sky. And they go back to plant themselves. Right now, we are then now going to head towards the Inwala. This Inwala is now the symbolism of what is happening there. The Khafela, right? Inwala ngakithi balanda amanzi mnyama. lewangwanase bawabuyisele eSwatini nakwaZulu lamanzi, right? This water is to cleanse the king. The king's death is a blessing to the people. Thatha la manzi lawo ugezwe inkosi ngawo, uchele ngawo la manzi lawo, khona imithi lawo phakathi kwalawo manzi, right? Khona ke nemiswane eyinkomo esingazazi ke thina ngoba suke sinekho eshawa amadoda. So ngakithi we don't stab a cow for such a ritual. We break its neck with our hands. And then we open it up. And that is done by the closest butho, the closest regiment to the king. The strongest man phakathi kwesigodlo senkosi.
Chairman, so we see come.
Madod, ukubutho is very important. Amakhehla wethu bewabuthwe bonke. There is no old man in our history which did not either have a king under them or were not brothers of kings or were not kings themselves. We are connected with our kings like this. As much as today we are sitting and we are all one family from all the corners of the earth that we come from. The kings are also in a unfortunate situation. When you sit on a throne, you lose yourself. Right? Because there are certain rituals that you must go through. And those rituals that you must go through, that you might know Habu and you might know Habu. Ngicabanga ukuthi nabanye oHabu bayazazi, ngicabanga ukuthi omunye khona omunye oyaziyo ngaphandle kwami la ekhaya.
I have to go.
Right? Uyafa umuntu. As much as when we baptize you, when Christ said a man must be reborn to enter the kingdom of the Almighty, ngiyaxolisa ngumfundisi. A prince must be reborn to become king. For all kings are born as princes, but not all princes become kings. You understand? All princes are born of mother and father. A king is born of God. Yayibona? Nakho ke bhele, uyizwile. Inkosi ayizala umama nobaba, izala uNkulunkulu. Ngoba khona le mbandele kumele udlule kuze khona izigaba. There are certain stages and rituals and
your own mother must give up calling you a son.
You understand? You become now the oldest thing that is known in the land when you become king. You become the first servant too. When they say the people need this, the king must be the first one to stand up. Him and his house. It is disgraceful for a king to not serve the people. It is disgraceful for a king to not see himself as one of the people. It is disgraceful for a king to not serve the people. It is disgraceful for a king to not see himself as one of the people. It is disgraceful for a king. Uyihlazo ukuthi inkosi ingabi ingxenye yabantu. Right? Don't forget, every single one of us relate to our kings. It's just the distance of how far we relate to them. Those who don't relate to our kings are the ones that we can say, because you came here through migration and then you had to bow to our king. You understand? Now, there's also now another animal that I almost forgot to tell you, but I didn't forget. I almost, but I didn't. It's the crocodile. Ukwena, ugwenya. Usilo samazi. Uzinyo lengwenya. Bayede. When you look at the crocodile and its cousin, the turtle, because the turtle, ufudu kasisuthu king technically ufudu
Khulu.
right mawumbheka ukhulu nokwena banele mibala yengwe. When you look at them, they have almost a similar pattern to the leopard. Right? This pattern, as much as the leopard is a king on the land, right? The crocodile is a king in the water. This is one. But they all have the symbols of the stars.
This is why the crocodile ibizwa ingwenya.
Ingwenya. So ingwe.
Ileopard ibizwa
ingwe. Exactly.
Ngwenya. Ingwe. Kwena. Ingwe. So the crocodile is the leopard of the water. The leopard is the crocodile of the jungle.
Of the jungle.
Ungayihlanganisile insele emanzini, insele iyoyika kakhulu i-crocodile.
Hey, cishe ngakhoza uzwane kaNtsele umangethe. Khona nomunye uNtsele akekho la ola ekhaya kodwa ngizomphakamisa.
Phela nomdala kulo.
Yeah.
Angeke uphakamise.
Injalo ayi uzwane. uNtsele umdala ngakuzwane ngoba uNtsele uzala umangethe uzala uzwane. Amakhosi ke wale emnambithi ke le in Richards Bay abaqulusi. We also went to war with you when we were still friends with Shaka. And so these symbols of the leopard, yes, you may see this one, nokuyibona noma ikuphi yathengiswa nale marabasithathe ethengiswa noma ikuphi nayi ingwe lapha emva kwenkosi lapha ne angithi nayibona ingwe yamampela ke leya ibiphila leya namathamba khona ngiwabonile mina nenyama khona nefutha la khona nginalo no akunalo siyayazi lengwe sazi amathamba khona nenyama khona right siyazi iphelele lengwe right. This is a full leopard that we know its whole composite, its all anatomy yakhona. Right? This leopard, when you look at those, the spots, they are not spots. A cheetah has spots, right? A leopard has rosettes. Yeah. A cheetah has solid black spots. A leopard has rosettes. Zwane. Na uNtsele. uNtsele uzala umangethe uzala uzwane. Nami lapha umnakwethu. Futhi ke kumnandi futhi ngoba ugogo wakho uMamtheni. Wakithi ke qobo. Mntana enkosi bayena.
Umamfazi wami bakubone.
These rosettes, when you look at what the pictures that NASA gives you of the galaxies and the stars and everything, when you minimize them, these galaxies with their stars in the middle, they look like the leopard rosettes which our kings and our chiefs they bear on their shoulders. Kusho ukuthi ke lengubo le eyengwe inkosi isuke seyimbathiswe amandla wezulu nomhlaba. Says what? They have been given the authority of heaven and earth. And because a king of kings is not just a heaven and earth king, a king of kings is also given dominion even in hell. Okay. Zwane. Zwane sazi khena lakho umangethe wadingiswa udingiswayo. Kodwa kahle kahle ngithi wadingiswa uShaka ngoba udingiswa ngaleso sikhathi wayesezohamba amandla wayengasekho ngakuye.
bebalwa bekumabutho amakhulu kadingiswayo
Exactly.
amakhosi amakhulu.
Exactly.
uShaka baphikisana naye ngale decision yakhe
Exactly.
yokubulala isizwe negama elithi imfazwe. Ezwa ukubhubha kwesizwe uShaka wenza laba bathi awungeke thina sibulala abantu bawela baya ngale
Enjalo. Ekwehleni kwabo behla baya ebaqulusini. Baqulusi is in Lady Smith. Bahlezi lapha namabhele, nabachunu, namanhlali, bonke nje bahlezi lapha. Manhlala wakithi. Umtshalo uzala ubhedla. Ubhedla uzala umagalela. Umagalela uzala umantshinga. Umantshinga uzala uhlabangana umhlophe wenhlaba zolwandle. Amantsela amanhlali phela nawo. Abakithi laba.
Hayi, mangeke la umkhulu wakho.
Nangikhehla lapha. Ikhehla leli silazi liyenqo. Lasixoxela le ndaba. This old man that we are talking about told us the story himself that he was chased away from the umuzi, from the household of Isilo udingiswayo badingiselwe entabeni, right? On their travels wasala entabeni.
After umkhulu waphuma kugogo isangoma nangambona muhle kanje. Kwaphuma umkhulu wakhe yena lo akhuluma ngayo wasixoxela this history. We went to the internet to find that history and those dates, and we found exactly what Umkhulu was telling us.
That's about 250 years ago.
That's 250 years ago. We heard it from the person who lived in that time. Yes. Ngakutshela le inkinga zakho nangu umuntu ozokulungisela yakho ngitshela. Ya nangu right. Kodwa on the flip side, sokuhleba move zoba nenhloko enkulu fitshane kaza.
Yeah. And then when you look at the back of the leopard, yes, it is the stars on the sides. The back of the leopard on its spine, it is directly one distinct color, which is deep gold. And it is one pattern going from the neck down or from down up, I don't know. But it is like the chakras of men. Right? This leopard. That is why inkosi beligqoke ingwele. This line going down the back of the leopard is representative of the Milky Way in the stars. The bright band in which all the constellations, all the stories of our ancestors are told. As much as inkosi, if sizoti, for instance, umaluka uba inkosi, right? Sizombiza ngomaluka, kodwa umaluka ubani? Uye. Akusuye. Ile lakhe lalela. And since yena, maluka bonke. So since then there's only been one king. There's only been one man sitting in his one seat. Right? Since then, if we say Tina Makhosi sibuya from the loins of God, since then, since God gave birth to us, God has been sitting, taking care of his people.